O'clock, the Northwest government under the embattled Premier Supra Mahumapelo is officially a failed province. Well, this is after President Cyril Ramaphosa took a decision to place the entire provincial administration under national government. The president has written a letter to the National Council of Provinces Chair Thandi Modise notifying the House about his decision.
The fate of Premier Mahumapelo is as good as sealed. This follows the decision by President Ramaphosa to invoke Section 101 of the Constitution, which allows for the national government to take control of the province.
The Cabinet has taken a decision to intervene in the Northwest provincial government in terms of Section 101 of the Constitution, which stipulates that if the province is unable to fulfill its constitutional obligations towards the people that reside there, the national government has got such constitutional powers to intervene.
Parliament will now initiate its own process.
The notification itself will be brought to the attention of members of the House through the official parliamentary publications. And the House must make a determination whether this matter will be dealt with by one committee of Parliament, which is a special committee that will be constituted of all the committees or representatives of committees of the House, or it will be dealt with by various committees.
Scopa in the Northwest has welcomed President Ramaphosa's decision.
The irregular and fruitless expenditure is actually very high. As we speak now, we're standing at around 16 billion in terms of the fruitless and irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure. And that is a lot of money. We cannot allow that situation to go on. It has to be attended. So this has got nothing to do with the triumphalism that many other people who do not know a background to this whole thing claim that people has something to do with December and whatever.
Presidential spokesperson Kusela Diko has confirmed that Ramaphosa wrote to the NCOP. Montlenyani Dipoko, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Well, the ANC, of course, has welcomed President Ramaphosa's move to put the Northwest province under administration. Speaking to the SABC, ANC spokesperson Bulemabe said the decision was made to ensure stability.
When the province is stable, it allows government to be able to distribute basic services to people unhindered. So the moves that are being taken are consistent with the position that the ANC has always communicated, that when the president cut his trip out in the working trip out in the UK, when the National Working Committee visited the province together with the officials, when you saw the intervention of the military going to Mahikeng Hospital, when the IMC led by Mama Nkosazana went in there, all of these were efforts to make sure that we could be able to bring instability into the province. You are now beginning to see action, and you will also be able to see certain of the measures that we said must begin to happen. In the last National Working Committee, we said officials must meet with the chair, who's also the premier of the province, so that working together they could be able to then say this is the envisaged approach that when taken forward, it would be able to bring stability in the province. You have seen there's been some movements. Already there's an acting premier in the province. I'm sure that within the shortest space of time, would be able to see things that are now beginning to say, this is a line or direction that will be able to take us to elections much more stronger structures of the ANC in that province.
Well, it seems the rug is being pulled from under Northwest Premier Supra Mahumapelo's feet. An NGO in Mahikeng, the Brown Mokhotsi Foundation, has filed an urgent application at the Northwest High Court to force withdrawal of Supra Mahumapelo's unconstitutional leave of absence and subsequent appointment of Finance MEC Wendy Nelson as acting Premier.
Week of high drama and political chess is anything to go by, it's expected that this week will bring no less, as a local NGO is taking the fight to correct the political and social anomalies in the province to the courts.
We have given the Premier until tomorrow 4 o'clock on the letter that we've written to him together with the Speaker and the acting Provincial Secretary of the ANC. The intervention comes as a result of the Premier deciding to invoke Section 131 unconstitutionally so.
Meanwhile, the ANC is facing a tough battle, calming rumors around the dismissal of 7 members of the provincial legislature. They are suspected to have been in cahoots with their opposition to oust Premier Mahumapelo and also being too vocal about corruption in the province. They include the outspoken SACP Provincial Secretary, Madoda Sambata, and SCOPA Chairperson, Mahlakeng.
Ourselves have not been informed of anything. So to this end, we remain steadfast, very ready to do our oversight work. Nobody has said anything, and we are not intimidated by any of these reports. We are unshaken. We are going ahead with our work, and we will do that oversight work without any fear of contradiction.
Meanwhile, President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to meet with Mahumapelo this coming week. Sentle Inglehihi, SABC News, Mahikeng.
Well, joining us on the line now is Professor Somadoda Fikeni, who will help us unpack the latest development around the future of Northwest Premier Supra Mahumapelo. A very good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Well, President Ramaphosa has moved to invoke Section 101 of the Constitution to take over control of the violent torn province. Where does this leave the Premier?
I do think that it presents him into a very tight corner where he may not have too many options or choices and may end up having to step aside, because right now he was using his political power base in the Northwest, but now the matter is being approached in terms of governance and misgovernance.
What does this mean going forward for the entire provincial government structure?
If you do have government intervention on this scale, it may weaken their hold, but more important, it may actually lead to the interventions on a larger scale and even a review of provincial leadership.
Essentially, what does this mean now, and what sort of role does national government now take in the Northwest?
I do think that their main focus will be to intervene in areas where there's been a collapse of governance, because with elections so close, they would like to see departments functioning, services being delivered, besides all these other political challenges and the political noise in the background.
This has somewhat been described as a rather drastic step that has been taken by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Were there not other avenues that could have been taken before coming to this?
If there was cooperation from the provincial leadership and Supra Mahumapelo, as he had promised to, it would have made this process easier, and it would have made even his redeployment in another post easier. But given the belligerent approach that now they have opted for, it's going to make all those options very difficult to follow.
What sort of compounding effects is this going to be having, not only on the ANC structures in the Northwest, but provincially, specifically with those elections just a year away?
The most difficult challenge here is that you do have provincial leadership whose legitimacy has not been challenged, and therefore the political leadership will still be there, even if you do have all sorts of interventions, so they have a chance of interfering in that particular process.
How can we take away President Cyril Ramaphosa's involvement in the situation that has taken place in the Northwest, specifically from the onset, him even leaving his international trip to come and see what was happening with regards to the unrest that was taking place in the province at the time?
Well, I do think that if he succeeds with this latest intervention or government intervention, it may be taken as a positive sign, but that it takes long after a lot of damage and reputational risk may be a cause for worry.
Essentially, going forward, what are the likely and positive outcomes that the ANC would like to have from the province being placed under national government?
It's simply being able to access budget and the national technical skills in order to resolve some of the problems most immediately, because going to elections and besides facing the voters who are extremely unhappy with the lack of service delivery might have been quite a challenge given the fiscal constraints. But if you are attached to the national government, it becomes easier to simply refer some of these matters to the national government, and they may be financed as such.
Can this also be described as a way to somewhat resolve the impasse that is taking place between ANC factions in the province of the Northwest?
At this moment, it's not immediately clear as to how this could translate into resolving the major challenges facing Northwest, bar national government coming in with its own technical expertise, with some of the resources, to say we are now changing, the leadership of this province, of this provincial governance, and also providing services. But at this stage, until you do have a resolution of the political leadership of the province, it will remain a tricky challenge.
Thank you very much for your time this evening, Professor Somadoda Fikeni, joining us on the line from Pretoria with regards to the unrest that has been taking place in the Northwest, as well as the province now being placed under national government as a request from President Cyril Ramaphosa. Do stay tuned to SABC News. For now, we take a short break.